Talking about Mr. Gaines and how he was cut up into small pieces and pushed through gaps into inches. My God, how horrible is this? Thank you for watching Why I Killed You TV. Please make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe to this particular video on this particular YouTube channel. I would greatly appreciate it. So I'm looking in between two monitors right now, so you're going to have to excuse me, mainly because this monitor over here is bigger. But we're going to be talking about this article that was written by Brenda Power. It's called "The Barbarity of Michael Gaines's Murder Exposes Killer's Hatred." And when I saw the title, I'm thinking, okay, that's all we're going to be talking about is Michael Gaine, but nothing is furthest from the truth, because she started talking about another case right off the back. She starts talking about Sophie Toscan de Plantier out of West Cork in Ireland, and how this lady was murdered like 30 years ago. So we're going to be talking about that case. We're going to talk about that case first, and then we're going to go into talking about Michael Gaines, because she does talk about Michael Gaines later on in this particular article, and the article was very, very interesting. And then we're going to be talking about how Michael Gaines how his body was found, which was very, very sad. So we're going to be talking about Mrs. Plantier, her death. She was only 39 years old. She was a French TV and film producer. She was found beaten to death outside of her holiday cottage near School, West Cork, on the morning of December the 23rd, 1996. Guys, that was just right before Christmas. How sad is that? The cause of her death was blunt force trauma. Her skull was fractured. A concrete breeze block and a slate were found with bloodstains on them. The Garda collected evidence. Blood was on the gate, and the murder weapons, of course, were the concrete breeze block as well as the blood stain on the slate. However, the Garda once again mishandled items and faced allegations of coercing witnesses. That's sad. I don't know why they would coerce a witness. A key witness initially pointed to a suspect seen near the crime scene, but retracted her testimony later. So I'm thinking, did the Garda have anything to do with her retracting her statement? This is crazy. So a cold case review began June of 2022. Latest forensic advances, including FBI collaboration and DNA testing, aim to identify the perpetrator by the year's end. Like I said, guys, this happened December 23rd, 1996, and now, they're doing a cold case review June of 2022. Sad. So, Ian Bailey, he was a British journalist, and he was a local resident. He became the prime suspect. He was arrested twice in Ireland in 1997 and then once again in 1998, but not charged due to insufficient evidence. He was tried in a French court, and he was convicted in 2019 and sentenced to 25 years. However, Ireland refused to extradite him, so he never served any prison time in Ireland. He died of a suspected heart attack in January the 21st, 2024 in Bantry County, Cork. So France issued a European arrest warrant in 2010, 2016, then 2019, but all were blocked. The Irish Supreme Court ruled Ireland could not surrender a non-French citizen accused of a crime in Ireland. So Bailey died in January the 21st, 2024 in Bantry County, Cork. Despite his death, the cold case review by the Garda continues, now involving forensic colleagues in the FBI and the DNA analysis on clothing and potential new evidence expected by the end of 2025. So why did they suspect Mr. Bailey? Well, evidently Mr. Bailey knew some details about Sophia's injuries before they were made public, and this raised some red flags. He also reportedly had been making some strange comments about the case, even jokingly referring to himself as the suspect. Multiple witnesses claimed that Bailey confessed to the murder while drunk sometimes, including a former partner, Jules Thomas, who later recanted that statement. Maria Farrell, who was the key witness, said she saw a man matching Bailey's description near Sophia's house the night of the murder, but she later recanted her statement as well. This was alleged by the Garda. So we are going to look further down in the article. when she talks about Michael Gaine. That's what we're going to do. And let me see. It says, okay, it starts right here. As vital evidence, and let me make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Okay, yeah. As vital evidence was lost or compromised during the time, there was much local anger at the delay in finding Gaines's body and the possibility that the investigation might have been jeopardized. Garda now believe that Gaine, a popular farmer whose family has been in Kenmare area for generations, was killed shortly after he was last seen. Having found a chainsaw hidden on the farm, they are working on the theory that the saw was used to dismember him on the floor of a slated unit, through which animal waste drains away and the body parts dumped at some point into a tank beneath. But perhaps mindful of the Mr. Moonlight murder in 2011, when the body of Bobby Ryan was found in a underneath tank on his killer's farm, the Slurry pit was one of the first places that the Garda looked for Gaine. So guys, this article, like I said, she's talking about a couple of people and how the Garda pretty much dropped the ball. So the article goes on to say that a half a meter of solids remained in the bigger tank, and then the Garda waded through it using poking poles, but nothing was detected. Then this month, Mark O'Regan, which is Gaines's nephew, drew up the remaining slurry from the tank to spread it on the missing man's field. An agitator would have been used to break up any solids to prevent the spout of the slurry spreader from being clogged. When the machine misfunctioned, O'Regan found what happened to be body parts. Whoever killed Gaine had almost committed the perfect crime. Members of the Defense Force with higher quality equipment and better protection from toxic gases have been brought in to search for the remaining material for human tissue. Unfortunately, there are questions as to why this didn't happen earlier. And then pretty much she goes on to say it would be unfair to compare this murder with the murder that happened in the 1990s with Miss Plantier. In the West Cork murder, they had their silent witness, the victim's body, and they knew instantly that they were not dealing with a failed burglary or a suicide or manslaughter case. In the Gaines case, they could have been investigating an accidental death or deliberate disappearance, and there was little to warn them of what they were actually seeking. So I thought this was a very interesting article. And I didn't realize how many times that the Garda had failed. So many families. It's horrible. I mean, the training there must really suck. So we are looking at an aerial view of Mr. Gaines's farm. Huge farm, over 1,000 acres. Evidently this farm, he inherited this farm from his uncle and his mother before she passed away just recently in a nursing home. His mother and him used to work the farm. And so from where he was last seen on March the 20th, 2025, which was in Kenmare, from where his farm is, it's roughly about 3.7 miles. The distance is only 3.7 miles. And so he was last seen roughly about 9:48 a.m. on March the 20th, 2025, buying some phone credit. And like I said, his farm is a old farmhouse, an old family farmhouse situated on Moles Gap. And like I said, it's roughly only 3.7 miles from where he was. He was meeting some friends at the time. So here's the article talking about Mr. Gaines and how he was cut up into small pieces and pushed through gaps into inches. My God, how horrible is this? You don't get no more horrible than this, guys. It's horrible. His body was cut into small pieces, small parts, and pushed through gaps. It's crazy. It's crazy. So somebody really did not want him to be found. But evidently that did not work in their favor. So we're going to read the article here so y'all can get an understanding of how gruesome this was. And this comes from a vast bulk of human remains believed to be those of Mr. Michael Gaines. We know now, guys, that that it is Michael Gaines. This article was written May the 22nd, 2025. So the Garda believe that the person who killed Carrie farmer Michael Gaine cut the body into pieces that were so small they were able to push them through gaps that were just a few inches wide. Investigators now believe that the murderer spent several hours carefully cutting the body apart before putting it through small gaps that covered a small slurry tank on Michael Gaines's farm. It is believed that the killer used water and disinfectant to remove the forensic evidence from the scene, washing it into the same slurry tank where the remains were later discovered. Guys, this is horrible. This is horrible. So with that being said, and I've always said this, with that being said, guys, how can you sit up here and say that the person, or even believe that the person who killed Michael Gaine had nothing to do with that farm? The person had to have something to do with that farm. The article says big as day, it took this person probably hours to cut him up. It took them hours. They had to have access to that farm. They had to have. Okay? The whole thing in question is, number one, the biggest question is who the hell did it? That's the biggest question. And another question is, how did he get from Kenmare back to the farm? How was that possible? Did somebody already maybe knock him out and drive his body back and then kill them once they got to back there to the farm? That's the biggest question. And my whole thing is, if he was meeting friends there in Kenmare and he met these friends in Kenmare, are these friends are they not suspects? Are they not suspects? Has anybody questioned them? Or everybody is just focused on Michael Kelly? And believe me, I don't know, maybe Michael Kelly did do it. I have no idea. But what I am saying is they seem like they're just focusing on Michael Kelly and nobody else, when it was these friends who last saw him.
They hate you. You're gonna die. I don't want to do this.